Hey guys, this is Swapnil and what we have in our labs today is the Poco X2. The really cool feature that this phone brings to this market is the 120Hz display. Now, sub 15K price bracket and 120Hz panel is amazing by any long shot. But there's more. Poco says that there are 35 games that are certified to run at 120 FPS. And so what we did, obviously, is to try and figure out whether the phone can actually run those games at 120 FPS. Now we are using a tool called Game Bench to profile the gaming performance of the phone, and the graphic settings we're using is designed for maximum frame rate. So what's really cool about the Poco X2 is the fact that Poco has brought a 120Hz display to a phone that costs less than 15,000 rupees, at least at the starting price, right? So now not all games were designed for that. Poco has a list of some 35 games that they said support 120 FPS gaming. So we've got some of those, we've got some of the more popular titles. COD has been one of our favorites. Now while in game, this is still the loading area right now, and we can see that the phone has jumped up to 60 FPS.
You want to talk about the frame rate, then you should talk.
So right now there's like nothing really much to talk about because we're not crossing the 60 mark.
So in the X2's defense, the Call of Duty game is not actually rated for 120 FPS gameplay, so that's fine. Again, this is not going above 60 FPS, so the game seems to be running locked at 60, but is not neither going lower neither going higher. So this 120Hz panel is not really doing much for this game. Now a quick note over here: if you do go into the settings of the game, there actually are no settings for frame rates or visual quality. So that makes us believe that you really can't tweak any of the graphic settings. You can't figure out, or you can't make any setting changes that will help the game run at a better frame rate.
It's a very pretty game, by the way.
This is a beautifully designed game. It's so minimal in its nature. So roughly 2 minutes into the game, don't see it going above 60. Definitely not into the 120 FPS range at all. Now my suspicion here is that when Poco made that slide in their presentation, they were talking about games that in general support 120 FPS gaming. I don't think that they were talking about that these are the games that we can expect to run at 120 FPS on their phones. That's kind of what we're testing here. What games will run at 120 FPS on the Poco X2? So far, none. Let's just take a look at what we were getting. Right now for Odyssey, it's 2 minute 50-second recording. It's fine. When we normally test for our full review, we will run the game at least for 15 minutes. For the reason for that is, when you run the game for 15 minutes, Game Bench is also able to give you a proper battery analysis, so that's important. This is a very rudimentary understanding of what metrics we were getting at. 59 FPS, the CPU usage was just 15%, RAM 312. But if you want detailed numbers, then there are charts over here. So median FPS is 60, but here's the interesting part. You can actually see that in the beginning the frame rate did hit 120, and this is actually during the loading screen. So but once the gameplay loads, once you actually start playing, it runs locked at 60. So that's that's basically what you're getting. Battery numbers, of course, nothing here. Memory. And here's another thing. Now with CPU usage, how much of the CPU was being used by the game? Peak usage was at 30%, but average it's coming around between 18 to 20%. In terms of what were the clock speeds, what were the how were the cores performing, whether the big cores were being called into play, that is something of course we get into in our review. We need to play the game for longer to do that. So if you want to see, let's say, Call of Duty's numbers, so we can get those session logs as well. 0 minutes, that's not right. So a quick 3-minute game, average FPS 56 FPS. So with mid-range phones, we've generally seen performance averaging between 45 to 60 FPS. On this it's 56, impressive, and that is what we have come to expect from the Qualcomm 730G. But the 120Hz panel is not really being leveraged by Call of Duty either. So given the discrepancy in the numbers, we reached out to Poco and shared the screenshot of all the frame rate we were getting on the X2. And this is the response that they came back to us with. Poco's statement on the matter says that we are aware that certain apps that support a 120Hz refresh rate are being throttled to a low refresh rate on the Poco X2. After testing at our end, we would like to inform that the limitation is from the app developer side. So there you have it. So right now the limitation is not due to Poco's hardware, but according to them from the app developer side that needs to enable 120Hz support for the Poco X2. Hope this video has been helpful for you guys. Thank you guys for watching.